idea.
Why?
It's going to go bad.
No, it's going to be just fine.
I don't know.
I know. Your part's up. You're doing it.
Welcome to Doctrine and Devotion, a podcast that explores Christian faith and practice from a Reformed Baptist perspective. My name is Joe Thorne. I am the lead pastor, that is the preaching pastor at Redeemer Fellowship in St. Charles, Illinois.
And I'm Jim Fowler, executive pastor at Redeemer Fellowship.
Man,
What's up, man?
how you doing?
I am doing good.
Are you doing good?
Yeah.
All right.
Everything's going well for me.
Yeah, me too.
Firing in all cylinders. And
Yep, all two of them.
yeah, they're going really...
You are like a little two-stroke little moped. That's why, you know what? Two-stroke. That's your new nickname.
You know, I understand the annoyance that you have after watching my kid play baseball. Even from the side, I'm like, quit sauntering!
He just... No, wait. No,
Hustle!
Oh, the hustle. That's my thing. Now, you got to explain to everybody, your son's team made the playoffs.
Yeah.
What
Against
the heck?
all odds. And by all odds, I mean with no skill.
So this is like Bad News Bears sort of thing. This is with less cussing, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Did not expect it.
So you forsook the assembly on the Lord's Day.
Well, because we had the finals.
Yeah, you had what they call the finals.
Well, yeah, because it
They're
was
not playoffs.
It was it was a tournament weekend.
Okay,
and none of us anticipated we'd be at the championship.
Right,
game.
I knew this.
Even one of the coaches, who is a pastor at a church in Mill Creek, he didn't.
He was not ready for this.
No, he didn't plan on someone else preaching because we ain't making that.
So you guys made the playoffs. Oh no, you made the finals. I don't know.
Yeah, we went to the championship game.
This is why I hate baseball. Just have one game. If you win that game, you're over. That's how the Super Bowl is. You get to the Super Bowl, you play the Super Bowl. You don't have like all these games. You got.
First of all, yes, you do, because you have the playoffs. You've got
but then you have the Super Bowl.
Correct.
In baseball,
and that's what I just had, the championship game.
But no. Like in baseball, like the World Series, it's like 7 games.
Yeah, best of 7 series.
Yeah. That's wrong. It's the wrong way to do it.
It's the wrong way.
One game.
Anyway, so we had one game.
Okay.
And surprise, we made it.
Yeah, so you made it there.
Yeah.
And how'd it go? I know basically what happened. What was the score? I can't remember.
Oh, man. Dude, 17-0.
It's like a football score.
Yeah, oh, my goodness. 17-0.
So your team beat the other team 17-0.
No, the other way around.
Oh, so they really shouldn't have been there.
No, well, and here's the thing. Technically, neither should have the other team. Because we were the silver division.
Okay.
And for this tournament, this team that had been in the gold division all season competed at the silver division and walloped everybody like 22-5, stuff like that. Now, when they told us they were coming down on last Thursday, none of us as parents cared because we were like, we ain't going to see them.
Yeah.
And then we saw them.
You're like, oh.
So I knew it was going to be bad when during warm-ups, our kids are just like trying to figure, like, coach is like, alligator, for those that glove on the ground, alligator.
Yeah, I know
alligator.
that move. Yeah.
Okay. That's what our coaches are yelling to our kids. And I'm watching them practice doubles.
Like double, triple plays and all that stuff. Yeah.
Double plays, triple plays. I'm like, what is going on? And not like, they only had 2 or 3 kids each. So I was watching like at second base, we're at shortstop. And then at first base, they had like 3 kids deep each.
Right.
And they're just like going,
Look good.
It looked real good. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah.
And then your team's out there like picking their nose.
Alligator. And then their team, they had a table, like a snack table.
Yeah.
With all this food for their kids and the parents.
Well, yeah, it's the finals.
And all this music, like in between innings, they had a boombox and they're like playing songs and dancing in the dugout.
As you should.
And we're just sitting there like, so I had some bourbons that I was giving to the coaches as thank yous.
Right.
I almost busted it out. I was like, I might have to take out one of the bourbons right now and get through this. So at the end of the game, Cohen's like, so, they're saying those kids were in the gold division. They shouldn't have, played against us. Like, hey. Doesn't matter who you play. Like, you take your lumps like a man. You lost. But now you should look and say, that's what I want to play like. Because that's a team. That's the skill level you need to get to. So if you're going to continue playing baseball, don't be looking at it as an excuse saying, "Oh, they were a better team." They're a better team. Become that team then.
Yeah, but they can't. So yeah.
Well, one of our kids probably could. His name is Dylan, and he saved us.
Dylan, that's an athlete name, Dylan. Yeah, Dylan's the captain of the football team.
Dylan was a beast.
Does baseball have a captain? You have a captain of the baseball team?
Yeah. So here's the thing.
You don't know, do you?
Well, no, yeah, you do.
You have a captain of the baseball
little
team?
captains, whatever.
You don't know.
You have leaders.
Oh, okay.
So anyways, but Dylan, he was a beast. On the mound, at the plate. Mm-hmm. Anyways, we never should have gotten to the finals.
But you did.
Only because of Dylan.
Okay. So Dylan,
and then my kid, who can't swing. No, he just can't. No. He just can't. And I'm not trying to make fun of him, but he figured out, he's like, the probability that this kid is actually going to throw strikes is low.
Oh.
So I'm just going to stand here.
All right, yeah. Get some balls.
And I'm just going to keep going to the deck. He's like, I'm just going to take my base every single time. And then I taught him, don't back away. You get hit.
Take the hit.
And make yourself big. Turn, and it's big.
Yeah.
And
just stay in the box, and then boom, take your hit.
The first time he got hit, after I told him, you're going to have to take that hit.
Yeah.
He's like, he's sauntering down the baseline, and he's just staring at me going, I hate you. I'm like, how dare you? I'm like, no, you take it. You're good, buddy.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know.
You probably hit him harder than that at home.
Anyways.
Not so funny. Hey, heads up to everybody. I am going to be preaching in St. Louis on November 2nd with Plant Midwest. There's a big gathering going on.
Are they paying for this?
Yeah. Well, they're paying me.
Oh, what?
They got to give me my plane ticket.
Go ahead, dude.
So, hey, if you're in St. Louis, come and check it out. Plant Midwest. Yeah, man. Hey, did you see that? By the way, if you're wondering what we're going to talk about, we have no idea because it has been.
This is actually kind of a preview episode for people. Do you want to talk about how there's a preview?
Okay, well, we are going to launch a second podcast.
Yeah,
but details on that are forthcoming.
Mm-hmm.
But it is going to be
this.
It's going to be basically this, us talking about whatever we want to talk about, and so stay tuned for that.
This is going to be
by November. They're going to know about it.
Yeah, it's going to be like what we were like before the podcast.
Yeah, before the fame and the fortune.
No.
Before the accolades and the alligator.
No. How we were at the cigar shop, talking over whatever, and people were saying, you should do a podcast. And then we did a podcast and became organized.
Yes.
It'll be less organized.
So, yeah, we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep doing our normal thing. But today, and the reason we're doing this is because it has been one of those days and one of those weeks, really, where you guys know we each can put about 6 hours a week into the podcast.
Yeah,
I think
that's about it.
We're going to be less than 0 hours because we just haven't had time. And today has been so busy, meeting, and all this stuff. So, yeah, we're just going to talk about things that are on our minds, things that are exciting us, things that are bothering us.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Finally.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Just chilling.
All right. Go ahead. You got the first one.
Well, I tried to talk about Plant Midwest and you wouldn't let me.
No.
I'm excited about that.
No, they're not paying me.
November 2nd.
They're not paying me.
They're paying me.
But where's my cut?
I am your cut.
No. Why are they taking money out of my wallet?
That's an inside joke that nobody's going to understand.
But I almost got you right there, though, didn't I?
All right. So one of the things that you and I have been talking a lot about, and we've even addressed it at our church, is this whole idea of why doesn't the church, and specifically our church, Redeemer Fellowship, but many other good churches, why doesn't the church do or say fill in the blank? Could be anything, right?
Give me an example.
Why isn't the church talking more about social justice issues?
Because we racist. Continue. Next.
Why isn't the church defying all governors' mandates?
Because we're wimps. Continue.
Okay. Why doesn't the church care about abortion enough to organize weekly, regular protests, sit-ins, and counseling at abortion clinics?
I'm not going to interject a joke right there.
Oh, see,
that one I can't.
It's pretty serious.
No, that one's a very serious one.
So
it's the murder of children. I cannot.
It is. It absolutely is. So this happens to a lot of churches, right? Especially today, because in the past, I think by and large, many churches could get away with focusing on the gospel, preaching the truth, making disciples. But today it's a lot harder because the stakes are in some senses higher.
Yeah. So I had to turn off that light because I was hearing the buzz.
Buzzing.
I was hearing the buzz.
So now we're sitting in the dark.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is, because now I can't see that ugly shirt you're wearing.
Dude, my shirt, this is on point.
Oh, I'm going to take a picture of that shirt.
You take a picture of it.
That literally looks like the bedspread on my dead grandma's bed.
That's where I got it from.
Oh, is that really?
That's where I got
recycle.
It. Yeah.
Reuse. Upcycle. Yeah. That's good.
It glowed up.
All right. So let's just talk a little bit about this, because we've actually had some people, ask us very kindly, hey, why
and then not kindly, but continue.
Listen, we have had over the past, since March, we've had a few families actually transition out of our church. And these are people that we love, care about, they love us, they care about us. But at some point along the way, they said it's going to be better for them, a better fit for them to go to a different church.
Yeah.
And in some cases, it really is probably just, this church is closer to us. We know those people. We love them.
Absolutely. Yep.
But
Makes sense.
In other cases, I think it's fair to say that there are some social and political ideologies that they are interested in, invested in.
Idolizing in, yes.
I wouldn't say that, but maybe, I don't know. But I do think that there are people that have transitioned out. And I think this is happening in a number of churches where social causes, social issues, and politics are increasingly drawing hard lines of separation between brothers and sisters when, in my estimation, they probably shouldn't. For example,
go ahead. I have some thoughts, but I want to let you go first.
Because let's just say, we're talking about the Black Lives Matter.
All right, go.
Okay. So I think you and I are on the same page.
Yeah.
We don't spend our time, we're not founders, so we don't spend our days talking about Black Lives Matter.
Stop.
But, or BLM. But, I think we are on the same page. The sentiment, the idea, Black Lives Matter is good and important.
Yes.
All right. And why? I know why I would say. Why would you say Black Lives Matter as a sentiment, as a phrase, as an idea is important and worth saying?
I think it's worth saying because I do think there has been a history where Black lives did not matter, and I think we want to affirm the image of God, the imprint upon them that at their humanity, that they do matter.
Right. And not only do we have this history of overt racism and whatnot in our country, even today, well, of course, racism does still exist today, and we can debate the merits of arguing for systemic racism. But regardless, African Americans and minorities are asking the question, do Black Lives matter to y'all? Because for many of them, it doesn't feel like they do. And so since the question is being asked, we ought to answer that question. And this is why I personally don't like the response, all lives matter, to the question, do Black lives matter? Because, well, yes, all lives matter. The question is very specific. Can you say that Black lives matter? Not we're forcing you to say, not you must say, but do Black lives matter? And so as a sentiment, as an idea, I think it's good. Jimmy thinks it's good to say something like Black Lives Matter. Yes, I don't need to respond to Black Lives Matter with all lives matter because I'm a Christian. Yes, all lives matter. But I want to say it if the opportunity arose, because it does.
So what do you think, though, of the organization? No, let's talk about it.
Okay, so
there's a difference between the ideology and the sentiment, and there's and what I see personally, and you got to be careful because you white.
Right. Yeah, I'm super white.
Yeah, so go ahead. Go ahead, because but to them, I'm not the right minority, so maybe I can't say certain things either, but whatever.
Well, I will say this. In the sociological sushi smorgasbord, I am super white tuna.
Okay, yes.
I have major philosophical, moral, and spiritual problems with the organization Black Lives Matter. I like many organizations and interest groups or whatever, I think that one would fall into the camp of an evil ideology based on what I have read from them. So I certainly wouldn't claim to know everything about them, but what I have read from their website about what they're about, the organization, I have major problems with. Don't like the Black Lives Matter organization. Do love the sentiment that Black Lives Matter. But then in the middle of that, you got the movement itself. Now the movement, well, that's pretty diverse, I think. There are people in the Black Lives Movement that are good people, and I like what they're doing and saying, and there are other people that are very much with the ideology behind the organization that I would disagree with. So
yeah, I mean, there's definitely that oppressive nature of it, right? Like the marching down the streets, the rioting, the destroying of people's homes, the forcing others to kneel or to raise their fist, or like it's to me, I cannot personally, I could not go with that at all,
way.
and I couldn't stand by, and like if I. Like I said, I agree with the sentiment, Black Lives Matter, because they do matter.
Yep.
But the ideology and the way the group conducts itself, or members of the group, and you could say members of the group, except the organization itself supports that.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go ahead and we want to define our terms and define the where we stand on certain things. So if you want an audience and you want a voice to be able to say, well, hold on, Black Lives Matter, then you need to personally separate yourself from that movement.
Or at least from the organization, right? At least.
And that aspect of the movement, though.
Right.
Because
the aspect of the movement.
Because
absolutely.
that part is together.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And it really is, like, listen, I actually love America. Now, there are parts of America that I hate, but I love the idea of America.
And we call that Mississippi.
So, no, we do not. So there's so much to like about the ideology of America that has developed and grown. So I think it's like, what I would say is protesting is peaceful protesting, disagreeing, voicing your opinion. That's great, wonderful. I love that.
I'm good with that.
Protest, peaceful protest, whatever. I'm all about it. Even if I disagree, cool, do your thing.
Yep, you have a right to do that.
But bullies? Here's the thing. Like, I used to get bullied and beat up as a little kid. And that's terrible. That does not feel good. And
then you were the bully, right?
No.
Joey.
Nope. I'm too little to be a bully. No. Honestly,
never mind.
The few fights that I got in high school were when I saw a bully picking on a little kid.
Oh.
Then I jump in because I hate the idea of bullying. And so, and again, bullying is the wrong word. It's too small of a word, but I hate racism in every form, prejudice in every form. And while I may not be racist, I don't believe that I'm racist. I certainly am prejudiced from time to time.
According to some, you are. You are racist because of your whiteness. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, I don't buy that. But certainly we do need to recognize that we are prejudicial and there is racism and all of that. I don't like bullying or bullies, and racism is certainly not, it's much more than bullying. But then to come back and to force people to say the right thing with a catchphrase. I mean, we were talking about this recently, like, because we've seen it happen on YouTube, right? We've seen it happen from afar. But, people basically holding up cars or people at restaurants and saying, raise your fist and say Black Lives Matter. Now, you and I just got done saying Black Lives Matter. We like the sentiment. We think it's a good thing to say. If somebody tells you, Jimmy, to raise your tiny little baby fist, Jimmy has very small hands. And
no, they're beautiful hands. They're so big.
They're very beautiful.
They're beautiful.
They're diminutive. So Jimmy can't even palm a golf ball. That's how small they are.
That was good.
If somebody says, well, you can only because of the dimples in it, though. If somebody tells you have to do it, I know you're not going to do it.
I'm not going to do it.
No,
I'm not going to do it.
You can't make me do it.
No, I'm not going to do it.
And so, like, there's this bullying aspect, and that, when it comes to the destruction of people's property, the restriction of people's rights, in either direction is wrong. We stand against that. So
I also stand against the sentiment that because, and again, this is some in the movement, some in the organization, right?
Right.
That the African American is the only minority that really matters in this discussion.
Sure.
Right.
Ask the Native Americans how they feel about the discrimination that they face.
Well, and it was funny because I'm having a conversation with people that have disagreed with you and I, right? And these are God-fearing people.
Yeah.
And it was almost like essentially me being a minority, my voice didn't matter anymore. My voice doesn't matter because I'm not black enough, or I wasn't minority enough. I'm not brown enough.
Does your minority voice not matter because you're only half Guatemalan, or because you don't say the right thing?
I think it's because I don't say the right thing. Yeah. Because there are other individuals that are
that aren't even like minority at all, like Shaun White.
Like Shaun. Like there's other people. I mean, but no,
But they say the right thing, and they're
correct.
accepted.
But there's other people that are mixed, right?
Right.
White and Hispanic, or white and African, and white and black, and because they're saying the right thing, it's fine.
So we brought up BLM, or I brought up Black Lives Matter as an idea because we might have people in the church who disagree on the degree to which Black Lives Matter is good or bad. And so you're going to have differences of opinion on aspects of politics and social causes and issues. And I'm actually okay with people having different opinions and ideas and disagreeing on these things, because as a church, we are centered on the truth of the gospel and the confession of faith. So long as we can agree on like our confessional standards, as long as we can agree on the gospel, then these other disagreements, even if there is inconsistency in how we're seeing things connect, we can still move forward and demonstrate unity as brothers and sisters. However, when the issues, social causes, and whatnot are destroying the gospel or fighting against the confession of faith, well, then we do have a problem that we have to address.
Matthew 18, yes.
Why would you do that?
Yeah. You essentially just...
I am not...
You essentially just sided with Owen, who...
I am not...
Listen, I'm hoping... I reached out to Owen Strahan.
Oh.
And I'm hoping he's going to come on.
Yeah.
I want him to come on the podcast and to talk. So hit him up on social media, guys. Tell him, tag us, tag him.
Now, why do you want Big O on the podcast?
Because of those recent sermons, those messages. He said a few things, and
we're getting tagged in them.
We're getting tagged.
I don't know why.
But honestly, I was sharing with Joe. I haven't gone through all
8.
I haven't gone through all of them, and I probably won't. But there are a few that I definitely want to go through, and I've been already started and going through. And honestly, at this point, I'm not disagreeing with this man.
Right. And this is what
something I want to say very bold. That man was very bold.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. He was bold, direct, clear, absolutely unequivocal. Hands down.
Is it bold if you're saying it to a bunch of people who agree with you?
I still think it's bold knowing, listen, this guy gets a lot of hate online.
Oh yeah, he does.
So
and not just because he's tiny.
Not just because
it's not just height.
And I mean, listen, the Hate Owen fan club that Joe is
I am not a part of. I like Owen.
Oh, I thought we were playing.
No, I like Owen. I like Owen.
Anyways, I'll play it around. But nonetheless, listen, he's what things that he says are gonna be taken and they're gonna be thrown out there. Ever since like the whole, what was the I can't remember the name of the organization he was.
I know what you're talking about.
Biblical Manhood.
Oh yeah.
He stood a hard line there as well, and he got a lot of flack for that.
He said some dumb things.
But he also said a lot of right things.
He did some great things too.
And so I'm just saying, the man was bold. It was being videoed. He knew it would be shared, and he himself shared and doubled down on it online.
Yeah.
So yes, I understand it's not really bold to say things to people that already agree with you, but you're going opening yourself up for those that disagree with you.
I just don't know if it's bold if there isn't any real world consequence for saying them.
Really?
Yeah. How is it bold then? Maybe. I could be wrong. Listen, again, I'm going to listen to Owen's stuff, and then we're going to talk about it.
I actually thought it was very clear, concise.
But I guarantee Owen he ain't coming on the podcast.
He might not.
I hope he does, but I don't think he will.
I hope he does.
Nah, he ain't coming on.
Why?
He just ain't going to do it.
Why? Because you're saying he's a coward?
No, not at all.
Or we're just not big time.
I don't think he has an assistant that can hold the phone for him. Because he's got those little hands. I don't think he can hold the phone to Skype in.
Why are you doing that?
Tiny hands. His hands are tinier than yours, Jimmy. You've got T-Rex arms and hands.
I'm hoping he comes on.
Brontosaurus body.
I'm hoping he comes on. I do want to talk to him.
It would be good.
I really, really, so far, I haven't gone through them all yet, people. But so far, I'm.
Well, here's what I find. I find that a lot of the people that I agree with ideologically, politically, even, philosophically, I mean, obviously theologically, all that's great, but I'm talking about in these current issues. Oftentimes I agree with people and I still don't find myself interested in aligning with them. Some of them, I should say. I don't want to align myself with some of them because of the way that they interact with other people, especially brothers and sisters in the Lord. I think,
and I agree with that.
And that goes both ways. Like, listen,
I agree with you on that.
We've got crazy on both sides.
Yeah.
You and I have really good conversations with classic liberals and classic conservatives.
Yeah.
Like that, there are philosophical differences and ideologies there, but there's a sameness to the argument. Once you get to the far left and the far right, people start to lose their marbles a little bit, and they become not just far less tolerable, but far less helpful.
Yeah. You know what is crazy though, Joe? What's really crazy, and I'm going to just tell you, you have lost your marbles. If you do not head on over to this Cross 20 conference.
Well, the reason it's dumb to not get in on the Cross 20 conference is because it's virtual. You can get to it wherever you're at. Wherever you're at in the Cross 20 is a special live stream conference. It's going down December 29th and 30th. And they are sponsoring this podcast. Now, Cross 20, if you don't know, is aimed at young adults, 18 to 25. And specifically, they want to help these young adults find their place in God's global plan. So it's going to feature speakers like David Platt, John Piper, Kevin DeYoung, and others. And what they're going to do is they're going to walk all of us through the Lord's Prayer.
Ooh.
Lord's Prayer.
Boom.
Now, registration is only $10 per person, which means you can afford it. You can afford that.
All of you.
And if you can't, ask somebody for $10 and then go ahead and get in on it. You can register for the conference at cross20.com.
Boom.
So, Jimmy, when we talk about the people on the far left and the people on the far right, I get the sense from a lot of them, right? So think about, and maybe I shouldn't say far left and far right, but I get people on both sides. I get the impression that they see themselves as kind of like heroes. They kind of like feel like they're really doing something big, because they organize.
There goes my hero.
Oh, Foo Fighters.
What's the next?
Love.
Watch him as he runs.
That's not. But Foo Fighters, one of the great rock bands of our generation.
He is not so dumb.
No, but get in on some.
He just likes some fun.
Okay, so stop. You just stick to your '80s chick music, and you'll be fine.
He likes
green eggs and ham.
Hamburgers in the bun.
All right. So, I've noticed this. Like, so you got people on the left who are talking a big game. Yeah. Oftentimes, I see these Christian people calling out others without actually naming them, as if they're doing something brave or bold. They're like doing this thing, and then I see people on the right who are like, "Hey, we're gonna go gather at City Hall or wherever, and we ain't wearing masks, and we're gonna sing." And it's almost like they feel like they're standing in the tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. and civil disobedience about segregation and racial inequality. I'm like, bro, this is about this is not the same thing. The hero martyr complex on both sides is embarrassing to me. And I feel like as the church, we should have a tremendous amount of humility and a tremendous amount of boldness and a tremendous amount of unity because of what we have in Jesus and what we have in the scripture. We actually do have access to the answers. And despite some of the different ways in which we want to address these real problems in our culture and in our country, I think we should be able to do it with humility and boldness and unity without fracturing the church and accusing one another of being Satanists because we are struggling or are inconsistent or even wrong with a particular approach to dealing with a problem in our culture. So let's get back to this question.
All right.
Why doesn't the church talk about whatever? Or why doesn't the church do whatever? Our basic answer to this, Jimmy, is that we believe that the church's mission is more narrow than what some other people might believe the church's mission is. Right?
Yeah, we believe, looking at scripture, that it's to make disciples, to go and baptize, to proclaim the gospel to the ends of the earth. That is our mission.
Now, it's not the only thing we do.
No.
But it is the main thing we do.
That should be what we focus on.
That is what we're all about. That's where we find our unity and our primary work. So in Matthew 28, when Jesus is giving this, essentially his last words before the ascension, he's commanding his disciples to go and to make disciples of all nations. He says, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. So in other words, the mission is to preach the gospel, to see people converted and raise them up in the faith in the context of local churches, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I had commanded you. And that is something that I think is largely getting lost. It is as if many Christians believe that the organized church is supposed to be this political body that goes into the world to accomplish specific good, though worldly purposes. Whereas what we see is it's the job of the church to equip the saints to do all the things that Jesus commanded them. And then as saints in the world, we do all of these things or some of these things, because I just had a really good conversation with one of our sisters, one of our church members, about this idea that there are 1,000 great causes. There are 1,000 injustices in our country, and you can't do them all, but we are all called to do certain things, and we all have varying passions. And I think the degree to which we understand our calling and our passions is what can help us to figure out where we're going to spend our time and our energies as individuals, but then also as a church. Because a church might bring to bear, a church might share a particular burden. A local church might share a particular burden in loving their neighbor in a given context, culture, and setting, so that moves them to do something like what we do, clothes closet, for example. Because listen, there are a lot of upper middle class stay-at-home moms that don't have Uggs, and so
Stop.
They need a second pair of Uggs.
Goodness.
Goodness. We actually have for years we've run a what we call a clothes closet, which collects very nice clothes, some new, some gently used, clean them up, and we give them away for free to people who don't have access or are disadvantaged and can't afford them. And we give that stuff away. I think that's really good. But figuring out what one church is going to focus on versus another church varies from church to church, calling, giftedness, and passions. And not every church can focus on the same group of problems, right?
Yeah, that's right. And so when we say that we're called to be united to this mission, I'm going to go back to, you're talking about you're not the hero, right? And I think this is important here. If we're united on our call to make disciples, that means we support each other. In our calling to do that.
Right.
So I'm going to talk John MacArthur.
Right.
All right. So John MacArthur, Mark Dever, two sides of the same coin, right? Different reactions, different ways of how they went about and handled this whole COVID thing. The part that I'm frustrated about is I was frustrated with both of them and how they handled it. But I'm more frustrated with Russ Moore and the ERLC and their silence, right?
Okay.
Because here, MacArthur was left on his own to try to navigate these waters. And honestly, the government overreach that was going on and I still think unfair restrictions.
Yep, I agree.
Russ, that's your job.
Well, in all fairness,
it doesn't matter. He's not SBC.
Yeah, not SBC.
It doesn't matter if he's not SBC.
Doesn't have to talk to them.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it actually impacts the rest of us as SBC churches. And he should have spoken. He should have jumped in. And honestly, I haven't seen anything online, so maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But I looked at the website, ERLC website. I've been checking the Twitter feed. I haven't seen anything.
Let's back up, because I totally agree with you. It is strange to me that the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission that focuses on religious liberty has, as far as we have seen, been deathly silent on this issue. So that is a major concern for me. And we're fans of Russ Moore. We like the
fans
ERLC.
Of Russ Moore.
That's why we're annoyed.
That's why I'm annoyed, because when people talk about defund ERLC at the beginning, for the last couple of years, at the beginning, people have called for that because Russ Moore, this and that with Trump and all that. And I was like, meh. But now it's like, well, hold on. What are you doing?
Yeah, this is an important.
This is exactly what you were hired for.
Let's back up. You talked about MacArthur and Dever. So what are the two things that are happening there?
All right. So you have
for Steve McCoy, who doesn't pay attention to anything.
So in California, they're saying, they can't gather indoors. Your churches, have to be a certain percentage. I think it was 25% capacity, mass, all that stuff. And so they're putting these restrictions upon the churches, right?
Essentially making it impossible.
Especially for a large church like MacArthur's, right? Mm-hmm. And then, but you had all these quote unquote protests.
Yeah, peaceful protests.
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
Peaceful protests.
With no masks and all kinds of people breathing on each other.
And it was like celebrated. Mm-hmm. And they were getting preferential treatment.
Who just won in basketball? Who was that?
The Lakers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a whole
no mask.
No, a whole lot of breathing on each other.
A whole lot of breathing there. And so, listen, how John went about it, I have my disagreements on, but I absolutely respect the right to do it.
Absolutely.
And to do what he felt he needed to do in the face of this government overreach and this hypocrisy.
Now, you and I think we would have done it differently than
I would have done it differently,
but we probably would have done it.
But I would have done it.
Yeah,
that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
So
we would have implemented some safety measures and actual concern for people.
I would have done a few. Yes, I would have had a few other safeguards in place, but nonetheless, I can respect the fact that he did it, and he should have done it.
Okay, so now all the way on the other side of the country.
Now we got Mark Dever. Same thing.
Government saying no,
and they just won't meet. Now I have big problems with that. Whatever my issue was with MacArthur and how he went about it, I have a bigger issue with Mark not doing anything, right? And again, I'm not trying to.
Because you don't take COVID seriously, though.
It's
because you don't care about old and sick people, Jimmy.
Overpopulation. That's a joke.
But the Joe and joke. Hey, listen. So I think though that there's two things that come to my mind when you're talking about this. Like, so Dever's church, and again, and I mean this in a, I don't know how I mean this. I just mean that. It's something I mean. Dever seems to be, and their church, Capitol Hill Baptist, seems to be a very ideologically driven church.
Yes.
They have a particular understanding of things, and that's how they're going to operate by. Mm-hmm. So I am a bit at a loss for them, especially as we've learned more about COVID and how it works and what it does and doesn't do, that there is no gathering whatsoever. But they did start a lawsuit against the city or the mayor or somebody.
The district,
And I do think that that's going in their favor, last I checked.
Correct. So here these two churches are going about it in different ways. Where's Russ Moore?
Yeah. So I
still get back to that. And again, I'm a fan of Russ Moore.
Yeah, no, I like Russ. I love Russ.
And maybe I'm missing it. Maybe it's all online. I'm working too hard. I don't see it. You haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it. No.
Call me out. Listen, if you've seen it, call me out. Please let me know.
The two things that come to mind is, number one, what John does and what Dever does, I think it's especially as leaders, we need to know what's going on, note it, assess it, have our opinions, but ultimately let them do their thing. You focus on your thing. I mean, people getting all up in arms about what John MacArthur is doing or what Dever is doing or what they're not doing. Like, man, I don't have time, energy, or resources to put that much effort into what other leaders are doing in their churches, unless they're actually actively hurting people and whatnot. I'm trying to be much more focused on our church. So on the one hand, let people figure it out, and they will bear the responsibility for those decisions. But the second thing, which is what you're talking about, is we need help thinking through this.
It's your job, Russ.
You had one job.
You got one job.
You had one problem this year.
For real. For real. You know how important that would have been?
I'll tell you right now, we have a better chance of Russ coming on than Big O.
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Russ ain't coming on.
I'll get Russ on here before. I'll get Russ on here before you'll get Owen on here. Want to bet? Box of cigars.
You know what? That's worthwhile.
No, I'm not betting that.
5 cigars.
5 cigars.
We'll 5 cigars.
All right, 5 cigars.
Okay.
Yes, I'll give you those 5 cigars.
No. 5 cigars.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 cigars. New Worlds.
Yeah, of course. I'm not your cigars.
I know.
That's $20 a pop.
I know. That's why. That's
my cigars.
I know. That's why I'm keeping it. That's why I'm doing that.
Yeah, it is concerning because, again, we can disagree with people. That's fine. Like, I disagree with Russ. I disagree with everybody. Jimmy and I disagree on some stuff. It's fine.
Yeah.
But this was a big one. We need help thinking through it because nobody has all the answers. We all have blind spots.
Correct. And you know what? You know who could have used some help thinking through? The Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. And
Jimmy,
they're released.
What are you doing?
No, I don't care.
Take back my
Listen, I
degree.
told you this is what we're doing.
What are we doing?
No, you know what? I'm on.
We don't. You know how I am.
No.
I'm afraid to say things.
I know you are.
No, I'm not. Stop it.
No, listen. I get to do this. This is what we do.
I'm not afraid. You couldn't say your thing.
So, if you don't know what I'm talking about, the Board of Trustees voted recently they're not going to change the name of any of the buildings there.
So why would they even consider that?
Because some had been brought up that a number of these founding, faculty members or individuals
were racist,
owned slaves.
Yeah.
Right. And so they wanted to change the name. They said, we're not going to change the name.
Right.
Right. Now, at the same time, though, they not embrace, but they acknowledge their history. Right. And their past. And they own that. They owned it.
Mm-hmm.
They owned it, which is
good. Don't have a problem with that.
Third, $5 million in scholarship for African Americans.
Okay. So you have a problem with an institution that was built by slave owners and actively denied access to black students coming in. Mm-hmm. You have a problem with them giving additional scholarships to African American applicants.
I have a problem with virtue signaling.
Okay.
$5 million. $5 million.
That sounds like a lot of money.
It sounds like a lot of money, but let's go ahead and break down the numbers then.
Okay.
It's what, $2,800 a semester on
I
average?
have
If
no
you
idea.
are you know what? Oh. I did the math.
Thought you were busy today.
I was until I saw that article. $2,800 a semester. If you are a Southern Baptist church, right?
Remember.
So, over the that's 8 semesters, 4 years, right? On average.
Yeah. Well, from most people, probably 4 or 5 because they're not, motivated. But go ahead.
Okay. That is $20,800.
Okay.
Per student. 5 million, 240 students.
Yeah, I can't do that math, but that's what that is.
240.
All right. Well, that's good. 240 students.
Yeah, it's good for those 240.
Yeah.
But listen.
Well, I'm listening.
If you're going
Why do you hate black people? That's what I want to know.
I'm just saying, if you're going to try to buy your virtue, you need to give more. Come on. How many? Come on, Joe. You know I'm right. I am absolutely right in this. I don't think it was. I think it was a gesture, and it's an empty gesture. 5 million. How many hundreds of millions? How much money gets ran through there? And now here's your 0.5%, 1%, 2%.
Well,
maybe
Jimmy,
5.
You're the numbers business guy.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Listen, I do this for a living where I go ahead and throw little things out there and it appeases people and makes them happy.
$5 million is $5 million.
It gets them off my back. But there's nothing behind it. And again, okay, I can't judge their hearts.
No, you're not judging their hearts. You're just talking about
But I'm judging their checkbook.
Here's what I've seen. I know that
it would have been worthwhile not to do anything.
I see Jimmy. I've learned from Jimmy. I'll put it this way. I've learned from Jimmy that oftentimes a number like $5 million sounds like a lot of money, but smart companies will give $5 million only because they know they're going to get $50 million in return. That's it. Now, I'm not saying that that's what we're doing
this
here.
Is great publicity. Well done.
So let's just talk a little bit about it though, because who was it? I'm drawing a blank on the pastor who brought up the issue that we really should take down. Southern should take down the names of the founders from their buildings and whatnot. I feel so bad for not remembering the name right now. But he had brought it up and saying like, hey, listen, those founders were pro-slavery. Mm-hmm. They said horrible things about African Americans. Mm-hmm. And you are keeping their names up, and it has to bring some sort of validity to their racism. And then others like Tom Nettles would say it doesn't bring validity to their racism. They were wrong on that, on their view of slavery. But it's bringing validity to the ideology of theological education and the doctrines that they upheld. But then the pushback again is, but a part of that still included racist ideologies and theology. So I'm not one to say, this is a neat and clean thing. We can just figure this out and move on. I think it's really worth talking about. And in general, I'm not as much as I like dead guys and theologians and all of that, I do think it's important that we recognize their shortcomings, their failings and their failures.
And the fact that $5 million is not enough. No, seriously. It even says for the next couple of years. So,
hey, man.
Now, do you really think that's enough? Now, what's going to happen? What about the next generation? They don't get it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that
the same applies for this generation on what you're giving them. I'm just saying it ain't enough.
Yeah. So
it ain't enough. You've opened a door and you can't close it.
But do you actually believe that they should be giving more in scholarships to African-American students?
No, I don't think they should have given any.
Okay.
I really don't. I don't. I don't think they should have. I think it opens up a box. And I think this is really difficult. This is really difficult to manage and to manage fairly. I don't think it's I just don't think it could work.
I bet that you and I think about. I bet you and I would come down on the same. We've never discussed scholarships.
No,
but let me throw this out there, and I'm going to bet that you have the same view.
Yeah.
So I think up the number of dollars for scholarships.
Yep.
Make it significant.
Yep.
Make it hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Be generous, right? Make it hurt. And then what you do is that you apply those scholarships on a one-to-one basis, like on individual to individual, evaluating their circumstances and their needs.
Yeah.
So that, oh, wow, you have had great difficulties and obstacles that you have to overcome, and this would be a great benefit to you.
White, black, or brown.
Right, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
White grew up in Appalachia and super poverty and drugs and all that. This is going to work great for you.
Absolutely. That's where I'm at. I think up it. I mean, and again, Southern Baptist Theological Seminary is not that expensive comparatively.
Oh, no, it's
comparatively
because it's underwritten by the SBC. So yeah, it's very affordable.
It already is that. So if you're going to do it and do it for everyone. But I think you've opened up something here that you're not going to be able to close this. What are you going to do, Al Mohler, in 4 years? For real. What are you going to do when people demand more and that money's ran out?
Then you vote for Pence. I don't know.
No, but I'm being serious.
In 4 more years, what do you do?
In 3 years, what are you going to do? Like, that's just it. It wasn't forward thinking enough. It was reactionary, and in my opinion, it was. What do you think about that idea? So, like Boyce, I've read his Abstract of Systematic Theology. I've read his biography. I am not coming off well on this podcast.
Who cares? This is what we're just talking about. So
I'm pretty sure my conservative leanings are finally showing.
So when it's brought up that these guys had some horrible theology and they had some great theology, and their horrible theology reflects one of the darkest moments of American history.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Do you think they should take the names off the buildings?
No.
Think they'd leave them up?
I think so. I do think so, because I do think that's still part of your history. It's a checkered past, but it's a past, right? And I think, though, it's a reminder. It is a reminder of how flawed we are as individuals, that despite someone's faith, they still have shortcomings, and they can very easily abuse and misuse Scripture. That should be a warning sign to all of us.
Yeah. So I think we're going to agree on this. But so I would agree with you. Leave the names up. But I think an institution like Southern has the responsibility to have the clearest and most bold articulation of Imago Dei among all people, and a condemnation of racism and a condemnation of their founders' slavery past. Like, they should be the most vocal, most articulate about that.
I'm good with that.
And then still, so like, what about?
Should we go ahead?
No, you go ahead.
No, I was going to bring up Portland this last weekend. And
what happened to Portland?
No, they took out some more statues.
I was going to ask you about this. So, but not in Portland. I don't know where they.
It was Roosevelt and Lincoln.
Okay, that's dumb. But what about? Because you and I might disagree.
Lincoln
on this.
Was such a racist.
You could tell. You could tell by that Amish beard. Because we might disagree here.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, I don't know. But based on your radical right-wing talk so far, we're probably going to disagree.
First of all, you know I'm not radical right.
You are radical right. You wanted to rename this episode "The New Founders." That's what you wanted, or Flounders. I don't know what you wanted.
Founders 2.0.
So, what about the? Okay, I think we might disagree here.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Let's find out.
In general,
I
don't like tearing down statues.
Correct.
I don't have a problem with taking down Confederate leaders' statues in the South. Do you?
Yeah, I do have a problem with that.
Okay,
I do have a problem with that. Same thing. Checkered past. Now, the Confederate flag, I'm like, why are you flying that? I don't get that. That part I don't get.
The problem that I have with a lot of the Confederate statues is, A, they lost the war that was splitting the states apart. B, a lot of those statues were built, and we know this, they were built to essentially intimidate people of color. Like they were built as a reminder, this is where you're at. And our hero here fought to keep you in your place. So that's why, like, I don't really have a problem with, I do think it's weird. I could be wrong. I think it's weird that we have statues and monuments in the South to leaders who, however gifted of a leader they may have been, and however pious they may have been in their private life, but who fought to keep African Americans enslaved. I find it distasteful. I really do. I thought we might disagree on this.
No, yeah, well, we disagree. I don't see it that way. I really don't. I understand the sentiment. I get, and maybe I'm just insensitive to it.
Clearly,
or maybe you're just overly sensitive because you're white fragility.
I probably am having a lot of feels right now.
Yeah,
and it's making me uncomfortable.
You know, but I for the same reasons. I mean, there's a history there. There's a warning there. There's I don't get the flag. Again, I don't understand the flag.
What's the difference? Every state has a flag.
Yeah, but the Confederate flag though is different. Maybe
it's the same thing.
Maybe it's not different, or maybe it is the same, and I'm missing it. I don't see. I don't see the irony of my.
Yeah, because the Confederate flag seems to me. I don't think it has any business flying at courthouses. I think I find that weird and inappropriate because it's associated with a movement that we overthrew because it was unrighteous.
Mm-hmm. But these were leaders, and there was, in a sense, a government leaders.
Yeah,
right?
So was Hitler.
Yeah.
Germany ain't keeping statues of Hitler.
Yeah. And that's not.
But they're also not a free country.
But I know. But I have to say, listen, I'm not going to sit here and compare myself to compare us to Germany or to Italy and. Or when they toppled down Saddam Hussein, whatever. Listen, that's not us. I'm not going to sit here but we are a free country, a democratic country, with a right to free speech.
And you think, and again, I know that you and I agree on this, that we do think states should be free to determine what they're going to do. And if the state wants to take down the statues, then
let them take it down.
Yeah, and that I know we agree on. Like, listen, if the state can come together and say, hey, we're going to vote. And if we don't think these statues should be up, let's get rid of them. That's obviously.
And I'm fine with that. It's the toppling down.
Yeah.
It's the toppling down, right?
Well, and it's also it's interesting because one of my friends who's a historian talks about revolution and rebellion and about how he's really smart. And he talks about how there's always violence. And he's not excusing, he's just saying it's reality. There's always violence. There's going to be measured reaction. There's going to be overreaction. And what we're seeing right now are the beginnings of a kind of social revolution. I think I would be summarizing him fairly by saying that. But I'm not sure, so I'm not going to say his name. Steve McCoy. And so I do get that there are things that we need to address, that there are problems that we want to deal with, things we want to solve. But I guess I'm still hopeful, and maybe I'm ignorant. I'm still hopeful that we can actually, at this point in our history, move towards these ends without violence. That's what I hope, but
I don't see that happening. No, I'm being serious. I really think we're on that. I think we're on a path.
But you would agree with me that we should be able to do that.
Yes, I agree that we should. Yes, right. I agree that we should. And now, okay, at the beginning, what?
Go ahead.
So at the beginning of COVID, I remember telling Joe, I'm like, you know what? Never mind. I'm going to start. It's going to be blame.
Here's the thing. So what's going to happen in November? Okay. Here's what's going to happen.
Here's what's going to happen. Go ahead.
It's going to be a close win.
Yeah.
Who's going to win?
Who's going to win?
Yeah. I'm not asking who you're going to vote for. We all know that, Jimmy. No. Who do you think is going to, if you agree with me that it's going to be close, who do you think is going to win by a narrow margin?
Right. If it's close, narrow margin, Trump.
It's going to be close.
Trump.
Okay. That's my argument as well. I think it's going to be Trump.
If it's a blowout, it's Biden.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
No.
I don't see that happening. All right, so what's going to happen when Trump gets elected in 20? And again, this is not an argument for Trump against Trump. I'm just asking, like, what is going to be the response to 4 more years of the
I think
bad orange man?
I think it's going to be, the 25th Amendment or impeachment. They're going to try. I think.
They're going to try. It ain't going to work. I mean, what's going to happen in our country?
Oh, I think it's going to be more divided, more hostile.
It's going to be. We thought 2020. People are talking about how 2020 is bad.
2021 is getting worse.
It's going to be worse. I agree. Which is why we focus on the Great Commission and the call to make disciples who observe the things that Jesus taught us. And yes, we do have a prophetic voice where we call out evil in our country, whether that's racism or the abuse of power by government officials or pastors or the police. We do those things. We do say those things, but we also recognize that people have different political ideologies and strategies for solving the political problems, and they do so as citizens of this earth as well as citizens of the kingdom. And we don't have to be fractured. I'm just as annoyed at MacArthur, who says a Christian can only vote for Trump. I'm just as annoyed at that as I am the social justice guy that says you can't vote for Trump and be a Christian. Both of these are just, I think they are overly ideological and largely ignorant.
And one's right, yeah.
Hey, you know what we don't want to know? We don't want to know what your thoughts are on this episode.
Yeah, don't at me.
Do not at us at Doc and Devo on Twitter or Instagram. Don't come to our Facebook page.
/ Doctrine and Devotion.
Don't go there and talk to us about this stuff.
Please do not head over to the website, doctrinedevotion.com, and there hit the contact us. And
don't do that.
Don't send us a message.
But what can they do, Jimmy?
You can go online and give us that honest 5-star review.
And
get
some gear.
Get some of that gear at jofostore.com.
Yeah, get that T-shirt.
People are going to... You know what? We're going to get
this
some
is what happened.
stars.
We're just talking. Hey, you know what? On Monday, you can all be happy. On Monday, we'll be back in the catechism. We'll be talking about the doctrines, the truth. We're going to be getting all into it. We're going to get on the issues of piety.
I'll make fun of Republicans again.
Yeah, okay. We make fun of everybody. Listen, I like to make fun of Calvinists.
Yeah.
Jimmy likes to make fun of Republicans because I'm more Calvinist. He's more Republican. That's your confessional identity, I think, is you are. In fact, your party is not red. It's orange. Yeah.
Fresh pot every Monday and Thursday. We've also got blog posts and videos Wednesdays and Fridays, whenever they're up.
That kind of happened.
All right, guys. Later.